Do you want to lead without anyone noticing? The art of leading without being noticed isn't about manipulation. It's about aligning your presence with your essence. Don't shout. Don't impose. Influence. The art of leading without being noticed is available to those who understand the value of silence, the power of listening, and the secret behind perfect timing. True power doesn't lie with the loudest voice. It lies with the one who knows when to stay silent. If you feel the time has come to lead with soul and transform with awareness, then this video is for you. In a world where everyone wants to be heard, very few have learned the true power of silence. Have you ever noticed how the wisest people almost never raise their voices? And yet, when they speak, everyone listens? That's because there's a huge difference between having a voice and having presence. Presence doesn't need a stage. It speaks through your gaze, your gestures, your ability to truly listen. And that is applied spirituality. We're living through a unique moment in human history. People are waking up spiritually, questioning old patterns, breaking free from systems that once imprisoned the soul. Maybe you're already on this path, feeling that there's something deeper, more authentic, more aligned with who you truly are. But how do you walk this new inner world with awareness without getting lost in the external noise? This video is an invitation, a call for those who don't want to just survive, but live with truth. For those who want to influence environments, people, and decisions, not with force, but with wisdom. Here, you'll discover how conscious influence, combined with emotional intelligence and subtle communication, can transform your daily life and your soul. It's not about commanding. It's about guiding. It's not about control. It's about connection. If you've ever felt like you have a greater mission, but didn't quite know how to express it, this video is your next step on the journey of personal growth, spiritual leadership, and deep self-awareness. Everything you believe about yourself was shaped by stories. Some came from your family, others from school, religion, society. But stop and think for a moment. Who wrote that narrative? And more importantly, does it still make sense for the person you're becoming? The truth is, if you don't tell your own story, you risk living inside someone else's. And this is the first turning point in spiritual awakening, realizing that you can, and must, take back the pen in your life. Look at brands like Apple, Nike, or Tesla. They don't just sell technology, sneakers, or cars. They sell ideologies, purposeful lives. They use the power of narrative to spark desire, identity, and belonging. And the most fascinating part? We connect with that, without even realizing it. Now imagine applying that same logic to your everyday life, but with consciousness, soul, and spiritual intention. How? By creating stories that empower you instead of limiting you. You can start with a simple practice: journaling. Grab a notebook and write about your life as if it were a book. Who is the main character? What are the lessons in the toughest chapters? Who were the disguised teachers that showed up as villains? When you tell your own story with purpose, you don't just reframe your past. You project your future with more clarity. This is a deep self-awareness exercise, a bridge between the mind and the soul. Yuval Noah Harari once said, "He who controls the narrative controls the power." And in the realm of spirituality, this power is quiet, but transformative. Spiritual storytelling isn't about impressing. It's about touching. It's about aligning your words with your inner truth. A question for you to reflect on now. If someone told your story today, would it inspire or would it imprison? That answer could change the way you communicate, and more importantly, the way you see yourself in the world. Now that you've understood the power of narrative, let's move to another essential element in the art of conscious leadership: timing. Knowing what to do is powerful, but knowing when to do it, that's wisdom. On the journey of spiritual awakening, we come to realize that chronological time is just a mental illusion. The real time, the one that truly matters, is soul time, the kind that doesn't race with the clock, but flows with intuition. Have you ever said something at the wrong moment, and everything fell apart? Or stayed silent when you knew you should have spoken up? Strategic timing is the invisible link between intention and outcome. The great spiritual leaders knew this. Krishnamurti, for example, spent years refusing labels and societal roles before he began sharing his teachings, at the right time with the right maturity. Gandhi acted with precision, even in the face of oppression. Martin Luther King made history with his speech right at the peak of racial tension in Washington. It wasn't by chance. It was guided by intuition. In nature, everything happens in its own time. Nature never hurries, yet everything is accomplished. Lao Tzu. Your life is no different. If you plant a seed today, it won't bloom tomorrow. But that doesn't mean it's not already transforming. That's why learning to listen to your inner timing is essential, and that only happens in silence. Want to sharpen your sense of timing? Try practicing conscious morning silence for just 5 minutes before your first interaction of the day. No phone, no rush, just you, your breath, and the question, what needs to be done today? And what can wait? This simple practice will deepen your inner listening. And with time, yes time, you'll start to see that acting too soon is just as risky as acting too late. In the world of conscious influence, the right moment is worth more than 1,000 words. And maybe your next big turning point doesn't depend on doing something new, but on waiting with wisdom for the right moment to act, to listen. And speaking of listening, let's explore one of the most underestimated and powerful tools of influence: active silence. Have you noticed how most people don't really listen to understand? They listen just to respond. It's like everyone is simply waiting for their turn to speak. But there's a silent force that few truly master, and it has the power to transform any environment: active listening. In spirituality, listening goes beyond hearing sounds. It's about feeling intentions. It's about tuning in to what lies behind the words, becoming a channel of connection with others and with the unseen. Here lies one of the greatest secrets of conscious influence. Those who listen deeply, with a present heart, access insights that talkers often miss. To listen is a form of love. Rubem Alves. Have you ever just listened to someone, not to give advice, not to correct, not to judge, just listened? That kind of presence is healing. And on the path of personal growth, that skill is more valuable than any well-crafted speech. Great spiritual leaders knew this. Buddha would listen for long stretches before responding. Saint Francis of Assisi often said more with his gaze than with his words. And perhaps Lao Tzu's most powerful piece of advice was, silence is a source of great strength. But how can we bring this into everyday life? Here are 3 simple practices you can start with. Number 1, empathic validation. Instead of replying with, but, start with, I understand how you feel. Number 2, conscious pausing. After hearing someone, wait 3 seconds before you respond. It shows presence. Number 3, non-judgmental listening. Listen as if you're learning something new from the other person, not as if you're waiting for them to slip up. These small gestures build trust, and trust is the foundation of true spiritual leadership. If you want to be someone who truly transforms, start by listening more and speaking less, because, in the end, Those who listen deeply become the mirror in which others can see themselves more clearly. And that's where subtle communication begins, the kind that influences not through force, but through presence. And speaking of influence, let's now dive into a concept that's often misunderstood: positive manipulation. The word manipulation can be intimidating, right? It sounds like shady tricks or mind games. But what if I told you that positive manipulation is something spiritual masters have used all along, and with higher purpose? To manipulate, in its purest sense, simply means to shape with your hands. And when that shaping is done with awareness, empathy, and elevated intention, it becomes strategic inspiration. Think about Gandhi's impact. He didn't use weapons or threats. He used gestures, silence, measured words, and yet he moved millions. The Dalai Lama never imposes his beliefs. He inspires through example, through compassion, through the consistency between what he says and how he lives. They used conscious influence with mastery. That is true spiritual leadership. So how do we apply this idea in practice? Number 1. Use authority gently, without needing to prove anything. Number 2. Inspire behavior through example. That's behavioral modeling. Number 3. Offer subtle suggestions with phrases like, "What if you tried this for a few days? How would it feel?" Number 4. Repeat key ideas softly, so they stick, without sounding like you're imposing. There's a principle in emotional intelligence that says, if you truly want to influence someone, help them feel like the decision was theirs. And that is gold. Because real leadership doesn't shout, impose, or force. It guides. It plants ideas like seeds in fertile soil, with full trust that they'll bloom when the time is right. Want a practical exercise? Over the next few days, replace every attempt to convince someone with genuine curiosity. Instead of saying, "You need to do this," try, "What do you think would happen if?" This small shift completely changes the energy of a conversation. You stop being the truth dictator and become a facilitator of awareness. And that's leading without being noticed. It's guiding with spiritual elegance. And since we're talking about influencing with gentleness, let's explore the next powerful tool, using conflict as a path to expansion. Nobody likes conflict, but it's inevitable. And more than that, it's necessary. Yes, you read that right. When viewed through the lens of emotional intelligence, conflict stops being a battlefield and becomes fertile ground for growth. It doesn't have to divide. It can unite. It doesn't have to hurt. It can heal. On the path of personal development, there comes a point where avoiding conflict is no longer an option, because silence that runs from truth isn't peace. It's repression. The good news? Every conflict carries a seed of spiritual transformation within it, and those who learn to face it with maturity become true masters of human connection, a real leader of the soul. Want a simple and clear example? Think of a disagreement at work or with family. Most people react on autopilot, yelling, attacking, or shutting down. Now imagine entering that same conflict with 3 tools. Number 1, nonviolent feedback, expressing how you feel without blaming. Number 2, positive reframing, turning criticism into possibility. Number 3, conscious agreements, finding solutions where everyone wins. The outcome is completely different. Instead of walking away wounded, you walk away stronger, more connected, more respected. And that is mastery. Mastery over yourself, the situation, and the energy around it. Want to apply this today? In your next difficult conversation, start by saying, My intention here is for us to understand each other, not to win an argument. That one sentence shifts everything, because it comes from conscious influence, not ego. Speak only if you can improve upon the silence. Mahatma Gandhi. And when speaking becomes necessary, let it be with presence, purpose, and peace. Don't run from conflict. Use it as a springboard for your spiritual awakening. Because true peace isn't the absence of noise, it's the ability to navigate it with wisdom. True power doesn't need an explanation. It shows itself in calm during chaos, in listening amid the noise, in presence where others feel absent. Leading without being noticed isn't about manipulation. It's about aligning your truth with your actions. It's about touching another person's soul, without them even knowing where the touch came from. It's about guiding the world with lightness, because within you, there's an unshakable center. You don't need to raise your voice to be heard. You don't need to win arguments to be respected. You just need to be so real that your very presence becomes an invitation to awakening. Practical, living, active spirituality. It starts with small choices. Number 1, listen more. Number 2, speak less. Number 3, feel the right moment. Number 4, turn conflict into bridges. Number 5, build a narrative that reminds you daily, I am the creator of my reality. If this message resonated with you, leave a like, share it with someone walking this path, and subscribe to the channel. You help us spread this message and support us in continuing this work. If these words touched you, I invite you to take the next step in your self-discovery journey. Subscribe and turn on notifications so we can keep walking this path of spiritual growth together. Leave a comment sharing your experiences with subtle and conscious influence, and how it has become a teacher in your own awakening. Let's grow together, not just in mind, but in heart. And if you're ready to go even deeper, check out our video, The Secret of the Masters, the breath that aligns body, mind, and spirit. It'll help you understand more about how reality manifests. Peace and light.